What makes Commander such a fun format? Is it the wide pool of cards you get to choose from? Maybe it's how the restrictions of deck building force you to make a game plan that is inherently less streamlined. What about the namesake? Having a card in the command zone that you can reliably build around. Although all of these are important to its identity, I think the cornerstone of Commander's appeal is the fact that it's a multiplayer format. Opening up the table to 4 players duking it out in a free-for-all changes the dynamic wildly from traditional Magic, and introduces something new entirely, the social element. In 1v1 formats, your opponent is your sole enemy, and the goal is always to beat them specifically. There's no meaningful cooperation that can happen between the two of you. This is the case for the vast majority of Magic's formats, from Standard to Modern to Legacy. Commander offers something different: collusion. Your goal is still to beat the other 3 players, but which of them is the biggest issue changes as the game unfolds. Oftentimes, the correct move can be to work together with one of your opponents to take down a bigger threat. You know, apes together strong. One of the most important aspects of playing around the social element is learning to make deals. This is a skill that many players neglect. I often see people putting themselves in difficult situations after getting entangled in a web of overlapping deals, or staying silent when they should really be reaching out for help. This is a huge problem, because deals are powerful, for multiple reasons. Deals can generate you value out of thin air. If you have a board of creatures to attack with, and player 2 has a huge blocker that you can't get through easily, then making a deal with player 3 can be very profitable. If they agree to remove the blocker, then you'll attack player 2 for a ton of damage. This is like attaching removal to your attackers, or a free 20 damage to your opponent's removal. Either way, the best part of this interaction is that it was free. You didn't pay a card or mana for this removal. It just took a bit of effort and saying the right words. If 1 life to draw 1 card is a broken rate, then how good is 0 life and 0 mana to cast that card? That's the power of deals. Deals can also hedge against the weaknesses of your strategy. Maybe you're a red-black deck facing down a powerful enchantment. You don't really have a lot of options to deal with that, but your green-white opponent will. Convincing them to take care of the issue for you means you don't have to pray for a Withering Torment. In return, you could help them pressure someone's life total, which is something your colors are very capable of. It's also often optimal to get ahead with an opponent. If a game of Commander is 4 players, in a normal board state, everyone has a 25% chance of victory. These odds are not in your favor. However, if you work together with someone else, you can increase them. Let's say that 2 players gang up to knock out the 3rd and 4th. Assuming all else is equal, both of their odds of victory have increased to 50%, which is a lot better. This sort of logic is why Trade Secrets is banned. It's often best to keep drawing cards with 1 player until the game is essentially a 1v1. Deals are also fun. One of Commander's biggest downsides is how much time you spend not playing Magic as you wait for people to take their turns. Deals get people involved with the game, and have them make meaningful decisions outside the confines of their turn. This keeps people engaged for longer and less likely to mentally check out. So yeah, deals are good, but how do we get the most out of them? One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when making deals is offering too much. How many times have you seen someone give their opponent a turn of complete clemency, only to lose the game on the next rotation? Happens more often than it should. Full immunity is a big deal, even more so if you're promising it for multiple turns. Despite this, people are pretty quick to pull this ripcord. If you can destroy this guy's permanent for me, I won't do anything to you for a turn, is the kind of exchange that pigeonholes you into overextending. You've now given someone a big warning that you plan to attack them, and given another what is essentially a Teferi's protection against you specifically. Instead, you should try opening the offer with what you think is the minimum. Identify the main way that your deck scares your opponents. If you're an aggro strategy, just offering immunity to attacks for a turn is probably enough to be worth working with you. It's still a deal worth taking, but now you can hold open counterspells or removal to defend yourself. On the flip side, if you're a control deck, giving someone immunity to just removal will open you up to still hit them with tokens to trigger your Bident of Thassa. Deals are an exchange of resources and favors. Ideally, the deal is just even enough that neither party is happy about it, but both begrudgingly accept. If it goes better for you, then that's great. But rule of thumb, if people are always accepting your deals without negotiation, you are probably offering them too much. Now, that implies that you'll be the one offering the deal. What if you're receiving it? Well, if someone is going out of their way to ask you for a trade, they probably need it much worse than you do. Knowing this, you can often push them and ask for a little more. Let's say you're being offered to work together to take down the archenemy by a Bumbleflower deck. It may be even and fair to call the alliance its own benefit. However, the fact that they want the alliance this badly might mean that you could get away with asking them for the next 3 or 4 cards they give out. Heck, you might get all of them, but you never know until you ask, and you never have a guarantee until they make it explicit. To this end, you should become comfortable with turning down the deals that you get offered. You worked hard to build this deck well, and to mulligan appropriately for a powerful opening hand. Your board state has value, so treat it that way. If someone wants access to your toys, but their offer isn't especially appealing, let them know you're going to need them to sweeten the pot. If they can't, be comfortable turning their offer down. This will make you less easy to manipulate into a bad deal, and also makes people adjust their expectations. If you're known to turn down deals that don't offer enough, then people are going to be much more likely to come to the negotiating table with something bigger. It's like buying a used car. Always be okay with walking away, especially because the very act of negotiating is gaining you something. Information. Despite temporary alliances and trade offers, remember, the people you're working with here are still your opponents. You'll need them to lose if you're going to win. Gaining info on what's in their hand is very valuable, and you don't have to commit to anything to get it. Let's work with an example. A player comes to the table with a deal for you. The specifics of the deal don't matter. You decide you can get a little bit more out of this, and so you counter with, how about, on top of that, you agree not to remove any of my permanents this turn. Now, if they choose to end negotiations, you know they have removal in hand, and plan to use it against you. Even though nothing was exchanged, you still got a little information as the cost of doing business. This will help you out when you have to pivot into killing that player later on. And if they end up accepting the deal, then you got more out of the exchange than you were going to originally. Seems like a win-win. Another issue that crops up in offering deals is the problem of semantics. When you start talking about costs and benefits, each individual word of your sentence has a meaning, whether or not you intend it to. Your friend has a board of artifacts, and the archenemy at the table has an aura shards primed to start clearing them out. So you say, I'll destroy the aura shards if you give me 2 turns of immunity. They accept. That aura shards is going to keep them pinned down for the rest of the game if they don't. Cool, you've made an ally and can make a strong push towards the endgame now. There's just one problem. When you go to cast your removal spell on the aura shards, its owner counters your spell. You don't have another answer in hand for the shards, and now your deal is suddenly in a very weird limbo. Sure, it's not your fault that you failed to deliver, but the other player is now put into a weird spot where the immunity they offered you was never paid for. Your deals are only ever as good as your credibility. If you promise to take action, and then can't make good on it when the time comes, even if you can justify it to the table afterwards, they'll still subconsciously view you as less trustworthy. This harms your ability to make deals in the future. Qualifying your offer to be contingent on the game state mitigates this. Use phrasing that only encapsulates what you can guarantee. I can make an attempt at removing this permanent. I have lethal on them as it stands. I will target you with my secret rendezvous. These can all be interrupted. Your removal gets deflected, your lethal board gets wiped, and your rendezvous countered. Despite any of this, you still did what you promised. It's not that you couldn't make good on your word, it's that your word never covered this situation in the first place. That might just be semantics, but it's viewed very differently. It's much harder for someone to blame you for your lack of results when they agreed to the fine print. Be very specific in the deals you initiate. Now let's reverse the situation. You're the one receiving an offer. Your friend promises not to destroy your game-winning boss monster this turn if you can defend them from an attack with your Mazavith. Seems pretty good to you. You really needed that creature, and the Mazavith wasn't getting used this rotation anyways. You save them some life, and in response, they thank you for your trouble by casting Swords to Plowshares on your creature. You take issue with this, as anyone would, but when you claim they broke your deal, you don't have a leg to stand on. The deal explicitly covered destroying, and exiling does not destroy, which makes it allowable by the terms you set earlier. This sideswipe might not follow the spirit of the contract, but it does follow the letter. In order to avoid this, you should try asking for more vague benefits. Things that are more all-encompassing. You will not remove my creature. Now, not only is it covering your butt from edge cases, but you're also removing game language from the equation. Mechanical terms inherently make your deals more specific. Destroy, exile, frogify, and bounce each refer to a single kind of effect, but remove covers all four of them, as well as others. Countering an offer with more holistic language is the goal, and removing game terms from the original offer is a great place to start. Sometimes, you'll be in a situation where the person you need something from is not open to negotiation. They do not need anything from you, and so you'll have to approach the discussion differently. In this case, a threat might work where a deal will not. Sure, the table's archenemy might not be interested in your assistance, but they'll probably sing a different tune when the alternative is to forfeit their best game piece. I have to remove your nickel bolus unless you promise never to target my permanence with it. Might make someone think twice about their position and what they can afford to lose. People can respond negatively to threats though, and will start to deny them out of spite if you try them too often. Luckily for us, a threat doesn't have to be explicit. You can get value out of just implying that you might have something in hand. Picture this, it's the Voltron player's turn. They play a Lightning Greaves and then move to equip it to their commander. You decide to hold on to priority for a moment and think. You reorganize some cards in your hand and then say, is your commander coming at me this turn? There's a good chance they'll tell you no, even if the original intention was in fact to hit you with it. You never had to cast a spell or make a threat, but now you've bought yourself time. Because implied threats don't require you to reveal information, they also open the way to bluffing. As long as your opponent folds to your threat, you don't have to reveal any information at all. The Voltron player hits someone else, and your hand remains a secret. So, you don't actually have to be holding an answer in the first place. A hand of 3 lands can execute this threat just as well as 3 kill spells. The issue comes if they call your bluff. Then, you'll take a hit to your credibility when you don't make good on your implied threat. For this reason, I'd recommend using these tactics sparingly. The more you have to threaten and bluff, the less often they will work out for you. So the major takeaways are this. Deals are not only important to Commander's culture, they're also optimal to maximizing your chances of winning. When you're presenting a deal, be more specific in your terms, and offer less than you think you have to. When you're on the receiving end of a deal, ask for more holistic benefits, demand more than they ask for, and be comfortable saying no. These two ideas are a tug of war against each other, and finding the middle ground you'll both accept is when the deal is at its healthiest. Hopefully, now you're equipped to look for ways to pull this tug of war further in your favor. If you have other tips and tricks to make your deals more potent, then please, share them down in the comments below. I'm sure there's 1,000 ways to get an edge on your opponents here. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked it or shared it with a friend. These things really help the channel grow, and without them, I don't think this channel would be a fraction of the size it is. If you're a fan of the format of this video, subscribe to the channel to get a heads up when I upload. I have a Discord where we get together for games of Magic, and a Blue Sky where I complain about the state of Wizards of the Coast. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.